All right, hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Lunch and Learn, sponsored by ITS and HR, and increasingly communications and marketing. We're going to be speaking with today. This is our last episode of this season, which we're labeling season 4. So this will be our last episode, but it's a good one. Unfortunately, I'm flying solo on this one because Joe's actually working out in Arizona this week. So I'm flying solo, so we're going to have to boost up the energy to make up for the energy lost with Joe not being here. So we've got a good group. We're going to talk websites today. So we're going to start out and talk public websites with Greg Rubenstein, who is our Web Properties Director. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Brian.
How are things there in sunny Arizona?
Excellent. I will try to pump up the energy and make sure that Joe's presence isn't too sorely felt. It is great to be back for another Lunch and Learn. How's everything in Missouri?
We're doing great. We're doing great. And so after we talk about the public website, then we're going to go into a little bit more private website and talk about a project that's kind of near and dear to our heart within ITS, the ITS website. And that's something that we've kind of redone over the last few months. And with us to talk about that, we've got Steve Emlin. So Steve is here in studio with us. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And then we also have Jeremy Andrews. So Jeremy is one of our programmer, web type people, do everything person. And Jeremy's based out, he works from home most of the time. So Jeremy, hi.
Hey guys,
Give
how's
us a
everybody
quick
doing?
sound check. Good, good. And then we'll kind of wrap up today with our third segment for the day, and I guess substituting or pinch hitting or designated hitter, depending on which league we're in,
Throw under the bus, whatever you want to call it.
for Dustin is Tim Johnson. And Tim's going to kind of wrap up our segment on fishing and talk a little bit about fishing. So let's get started with our public website. And Greg, if you can, just kind of walk us through, give us a quick update on where things are and kind of what we've got going on in terms of the ATSU public website.
Sure, Brian. Well, as ATSU's Web Properties Director, I'm leading the university's website redevelopment project, a task I'm sure you all know has been a long time in the making. Today, I'm going to talk about where we are in that project, how the process works, and give a peek into what you'll be seeing in the very near future. When we started the ATSU website redevelopment project, the university's online presence was fractured both in terms of content and navigation. This was no surprise given the tremendous growth ATSU experienced in the last decade. Today, we're looking at a whole new profile of website visitor as well, with more than 1/4 of ATSU's website traffic coming from mobile platform visitors, a statistic that will only continue to grow. It's interesting to note, too, of our 25% mobile traffic, it's far less than the 50% mobile traffic that Google reports from its search users. There's probably a good reason for that disparity, and I'll touch on it in a moment. Our initial focus for the website was ATSU's online programs, both for CGHS and online and ASHES. Once those program pages were complete, we quickly found out what we had planned for those programs was in fact working. Searching for logical keywords and phrases returns ATSU's related degree pages, usually on the first page, if not in the first few organic results. And where we aren't appearing in the top organic position, we're able to use Google's paid search to have a first page presence among the top paid positions. To demonstrate this, let me share my screen.
All right.
Let's get into some screen sharing. Here's a Google search for CGHS's Doctor of Health Administration program. Can you see that?
Yep, we're good.
All right, great. As you can see, there are four paid positions in the top owned by Walden, Drexel, University of Phoenix, and Capella. Below that, the number 1 organic or non-paid position is owned by University of Phoenix. Number 2 is ATSU's Doctor of Health Administration position.
So Greg, if I can just kind of interrupt there, I'm not sure that everybody understands just how big a deal that is.
It is a big deal because ATSU has a limited budget and we can't buy a lot of ads. So what we have to do is make sure our website program content pages are as optimized as they can for any particular degree. And we do that by making sure our keywords are relevant and we have content that is relevant for what people are searching.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before. It's actually kind of an indicator of the value of the source too, isn't it? So it seems like the more trusted sources kind of tend toward the top of Google search results. And I know that algorithm's always changing, but it seems like that's one component.
That's exactly true. We earned that top position or the number 2 position by having a website page that's relevant for the particular keywords used in the search, and also by having a website which is considered to be trustworthy and relevant by Google, which is what you just mentioned. So website trust and relevance are earned by having content which is consistently accurate, attracts visitors who search for specific terms and then click on those related website page links, and by having fresh content which is regularly updated. That's another feature that we tackle all the time. So once we have published a program page, besides keeping it up to date for accurate tuition application deadlines and that other kind of nuts and bolts content, one of the ways we're working to keep content fresh is by dynamically including any related information that comes through our social channels. So let me show you a search I've done for the ASH's Doctor of Athletic Training program. Here you can see the 2 top paid positions are from Temple and University of Phoenix. In this case, the Doctor of Athletic Training is the top organic position. If we click on that, it takes us to the, eventually, ATSU's DAT program page. And you can see down here on the bottom left corner or left column of this, we have our alumni feed. This comes through social media content, both from Facebook as well as iConnect.
Nice.
So for all of ATSU's online programs, we advertise through Google, and in some instances, a program page will be both highly ranked for organic search and have corresponding pay-per-click, while other instances it may only be organic or only pay-per-click, which is on the first page results. Go ahead.
Sorry, Greg, do you guys try to filter that? I mean, it seems like you would really want the pay-per-clicks to be on those pages where our organic search isn't quite as strong.
There's as much science to this as there is magic behind the scenes. So it's not always possible to limit what we're doing for pay-per-click if we know our organic is high, and it's also a combination. We want both our organic to be high as well as our pay-per-click. Let me show you the search for the Advanced Physician Assistant program using the keywords Advanced Physician Assistant online. So that was my search here.
Okay.
You can see the APA program has both the number 2 paid position right up there, as well as it's the number 1 organic position. This is the kind of ideal situation that we have, because then we're covering both of our bases. Ideally, as you mentioned, if we could have the top organic position, we may not need to do that pay-per-click, but depending on a particular website visitor, they may just go straight to that number 1 or number 2 paid position. They may not even see the organic link.
Yeah, I may be an outlier where I just always, my attention goes right down the screen beyond the ads. I try to skip those ads and go right to the organic stuff.
So we're doing a pretty good job at keeping all of our online programs highly ranked in search engines, both for pay-per-click and for the organic results. But as you mentioned, and one thing I want to make a note of, if you see these pay-per-click links, please don't click them. Those cost us every time somebody clicks on them. And if you're from ATSU and you click on them, they range from less than $1 to sometimes $40 or more per click. This particular APA program link costs us $3.91 for every click. So you can see they could add up pretty quickly and eat our ad budget.
Sure. All right, that's great.
Let me stop my screen share here for a bit. All right, so enough about PPC, CPC, and search results. With COGS and ASH's content done, we're now in the final stages of development for SOMA's website. I can't show you too much because we have a meeting later this month to present to Dean Morgan and his team the website, but I am going to give you a sneak peek here. One more screen share. And there is one of the pages within the new SOMA website. In developing this SOMA website, our mission was to create a website presence as dynamic and innovative as the school is itself. We also needed to capture its community health center model, where its students are embedded into a CHC starting in their second year. This particular page shows our Visalia, California CHC. We had some pretty cool drone footage of it as well.
Nice.
The new SOMA website will be very fluid with lots of video, motion, and personality. It's also designed to be easily navigated using only your thumbs. This page, like all of ATSU's new website development, is not just mobile friendly, but optimized for viewing on a tablet or mobile phone. So I mentioned earlier that about 1/4 of ATSU's website traffic is from mobile, while more than half of all search is done for mobile platforms. This disparity can in part be attributed to a lot of ATSU's pages still not being website friendly or mobile friendly. I'm sure you've all seen a page where you have to pinch and scroll to view it on your phone. Starting earlier this year, Google implemented a new search engine algorithm which lowered or even removed web search listings for pages which aren't mobile friendly when searched on a mobile device.
So Greg, if we were looking at this new SOMA site on a mobile device, how does that video work? I know video is traditionally slows things down a lot, especially on mobile. How would that work here?
The video is actually loaded in multiple different resolutions. So if you're coming in from a mobile platform that's on a low bandwidth connection, it will serve you the lower resolution video versus if you're coming through on a broadband or fiber connection, it'll serve you the highest.
Nice.
All done optimized, all done behind the scenes, all done automatically.
Very nice. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, I see more and more of the video being included on web pages, even if it's just the little clips like we're seeing here, but it really does give a whole different feel to the website.
Let me show you let me go back to the home page for just a sec. This is one way to know if a website page is mobile friendly or even mobile optimized. If you pinch the window and scroll it down, you'll see how a page responds and changes as you scroll the size back and forth. So this is an ATSU homepage. It is mobile friendly in that it responds, it's called responsive design, to a mobile platform or a shrinking screen size. The difference between mobile friendly and mobile optimized, a mobile optimized page will be designed to entirely be navigated using your thumbs and swipes versus just being more friendly to changes in size of the screen.
Sure. And I'm assuming that that's a trend that you're seeing as kind of development moves forward into the future, that there is more differentiation between what you can do on a mobile device versus what you can do on a traditional desktop or eventually I would think on big screens as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The mobile is where all the traffic is going to come from in the future. Well, the majority of traffic. And that is why we're going through our redevelopment project as quickly as we can, given the budget that we have to do it with.
Yep, sure.
So next fiscal year, we're going to be working on the remaining school website pages, which means KCOM, ASDO, and MOSDO will be redeveloped using a similar template to what's being done for SOMA. It's not going to be cookie cutter because each school has its own identity and mission, but they'll all look part of the ATSU family. Part of what's also taking so much time to get SOMA done is the back end or infrastructure development. ATSU's new website will have content which is dynamically shared between pages. This means, for example, when we update the student financial services content, the relevant school-specific content is brought over. So when we do SOMA's tuition on the student financial services page, that content comes over into SOMA or into KCOM into the relevant pages, and you only have to update it once on the website, and it's dynamically populated throughout the site.
Nice.
So that by far best practice in website development, and we're getting there.
Yeah. And I don't want to jump ahead too far, so stop me if I'm moving ahead. But I'm sure as you talk about things like financial aid content, the people who are watching are probably wondering, well, what about my content? How do I get my content updated?
So you're jumping too far ahead, but only by a little bit. Let me just show another department page that we're working on, and we'll talk about how to get into the queue. So we're also working to either start or in some cases complete website development for all of the departments and microsites. If you didn't already know it, back 4 years ago, ATSU had more than 15,000 website pages. When we're all done, that number is going to be down around 5,000 pages. One more page I also want to preview for you is the new museum website.
Sorry, the angels are still echoing in my head from the reduction of pages.
So first off, here's the old museum site, or I should say current museum site. It's a tremendous asset for ATSU and all of osteopathy.
So Greg, we lost your screen share.
Oh, let me bring that back.
There we go.
All right. Current museum site. So museum director Jason Haxton and his team were able to secure a grant for redevelopment work of the new site, which helps us, or it's helping us, to get the new museum website done this fiscal year. We're targeting launch for the museum webpage in just a few days, and here is what it's going to look like.
So from this, oh, what a difference, eh?
So here's what it looks like today. Here's what it's going to look like in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Our goal for the new museum site was to build upon its current success, show the people behind the scenes, and create a portal where all things about ATSU's osteopathic history could be found and archived. Like Soma's website, this museum website will be very fluid and, of course, optimized for mobile. So watch your inbox about an announcement for this launch coming soon.
Looks nice.
All right, stopping share. All right, so I mentioned the museum website was redeveloped thanks in part to grant funding, but it's not a requirement for any schools or departments. While we're working our way through redevelopment of the entire ATSU website, extra budget can help advance that schedule, but it's not a requirement. Eventually, we'll have enough budget to go around for everybody. Before I turn it back to you, Brian, let me make a couple extra notes. If you're wanting to get your website updated, don't wait for communication and marketing to come to do it. It's always easiest for us to work on a site which is already updated. So whether your website content is in the current format or the new format, all update requests need to go to helpdesk@atsu.edu. We worked out a partnership with ATS, so the appropriate update request gets either routed to communication and marketing or ITS. Finally, Lori Trowbridge in Communication and Marketing is working on an update to our master list of school and department website editors. These are the people assigned by deans or department heads to be our primary contact for each school or department. It's important we know who these editors are so we can provide training when the time comes for editing. And as is the case now, each school or department can have one or more people who are responsible for keeping website content up to date. Each school or department doesn't have to have a person who does updates, but at least we need to know who that point of contact is who will provide us with content updates as they're needed. Whew, that was hard to get out. All right.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, it really helps to have those
questions?
points of contact.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So if you are one of those points of contact and you're really thinking about maybe developing something, for your area, is there a timeline associated with training where people will be able to start doing this themselves?
Yes. The process is we meet with the department, we'll find out what their needs are, we'll get their new content up, and as content is developed and published, we, in conjunction with that, will provide training to whomever that person is who wants to do or can do updates, and give them the tools necessary to be able to work in the new back end.
That makes sense. So really the initial launch, if you will, of kind of the new website will be handled mostly by your team. And then once you get into more of a maintenance mode, that's when the departments can kind of update their content more regularly.
Exactly, right. And just like the system is today, it's our goal to be able to turn content areas over to the particular schools or departments so they can maintain their individual content.
Good.
That's the only way we can keep a system this broad updated.
Good. I want to talk just a little bit about analytics because we hear about that all the time. What kind of data do we get from the website? What are we tracking? Are any of those reports going back to the programs, and how, and kind of where is analytics heading down the road?
So the analytics that we have available today are the more you know about it, the scarier it is, because it can be detailed. It can be tracked down to what you're watching, the things, the clicks you're doing down in real time. But while we don't really have the resources to do that kind of industrial strength tracking, we do a lot of tracking as far as who's clicking what ads and what pages, where our leads from. That's especially important to us. Our what we call our lead funnel for potential students coming in, and we track that both from Google's pay-per-click ads, from our organic search listings, as well as any ads we have across the internet.
Nice. Well, Greg, I think we're going to take a break here in just a minute, but before we do, I've got a special little surprise that I think you'll be interested in. I know that website development is one of those things that you feel like it's a thankless job. It's never good enough. It's never complete. So I thought we'd do a little bit of a Throwback Thursday on Tuesday, where, Corey, if you can go to my screen. That, I think, is a screenshot from the first website for the university. And I think that one's about 1996. So we've come a ways from there. And
That's an awesome site for 96.
So, I don't know, Steve, how old were you in 1996?
11.
He was 11 years old.
Ouch.
So that just kind of gives you a sense of where we've come from. Let's go back there real quick, Corey. I'm just going to slide through these quick. So in those 20 years, I grabbed a couple of other screenshots. This one is from around 1999. The graphics aren't quite showing as well as I think they were at the time, but there's one. That one was a little controversial at the time. Then we've got KCOM. This was kind of the first one that was a little bit more professionally developed, but still KCOM at this point, even though you can kind of see links here to ASHES and what was at the time SHM. So this one is probably around, I don't know, 2000, 2001, 2002. Then we come up into 2005. This is the first university site. And then from there we got into a little bit more professional look with all of the different schools. And I think that's the last one before we changed out. When did this new kind of look go online? Was it 2013, 14?
2014.
2014.
Yep.
All right.
And it's really what's up there now. That homepage look and feel will be phase one. We're even moving past that with new brand standards for the university, which may be coming either late this fiscal year or early next fiscal year.
All right, super. Well, let's take a little break, and when we come back, we'll switch. I call it internal because it's targeted toward the ITS, or it's the ITS page targeted toward the ATSU community, but it's really still public pages. But we'll talk a little bit about the new ITS website. But first, let's go to a commercial and talk a little bit about security. So if you've got kids coming home for the summer, this is something that we're trying to get out there to all employees, faculty, staff, everyone that we can. Just tips, tidbits for stop, think, and connect in terms of security.
Hold it! Huh? Before you move a finger, stop, think, connect.
Stop. Before you click on a link, open an attachment, or reveal personal information online.
Think, do all of my devices have active and up-to-date security settings?
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
And for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
And for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Hold your fire.
What?
We're playing online.
So?
You need to stop, think, connect.
Stop. Before you play, make sure your game safety settings are active.
Think about your online behavior and report any online bullying or harassment.
And never share personal information with anyone you don't know.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
And for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Guess what?
What?
Phones can be computers too.
So?
So you need to stop, think, connect.
Just like on your home computer, stop before you open attachments, click links, or download files.
Think about what you post and share with others.
And keep your login and passwords private and only use encrypted Wi-Fi spots.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you.
And for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
All right, so I'm resisting the urge to do this and say welcome back. So welcome back, and now let's switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk to Steve, who's in studio here with us. Steve Emland is our web developer, or one of our web developers, I should say. We've got several people with that skill set. And Steve's kind of taken the lead on a project to kind of redevelop and put a new coat of paint on the ITS website. So Steve, maybe you can just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yep, so I'm going to share my screen here. So here's the new ITS website. So I'm going to give a quick overview here. So the biggest thing we wanted to prioritize is that there are 4 ways to get help from ITS. And so we've categorized them as being able to search the website for help articles. You could submit a ticket, you could call the help desk, or you could visit. And when you click that, you see a map of where the help desk is on either campus. Additionally, if you're on your phone, you could click the phone number and it would try to call that from your cell phone. So that's the 4 ways to get in touch with ITS or get help. And then the way the content on this website is organized is by a few ways. One is by audience, and so we've got content by students or for faculty and staff. Additionally, you could look at general categories, and so we'll click into that. So I'll click See All Categories. And this is all of the categories of our help articles on our website. And so you could scroll through here and see if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for Blackboard support, you could find that and see all the articles we have on that. And just keep scrolling, you can see all of the content on our site. Another way to see content on our site is by software, which is a more refined version of categories. So I'll look at that. And so here you're looking at our help articles just for software. So you've got Blackboard, email, Google Apps, Google Docs, and then you can click into any of these articles and look at that.
Get more information on the specific topic there.
Yep, and so the other thing I wanted to show is, so on the homepage we've got these 4 ways to get help. You've got the search, but once you get into any other page on the website, we keep that there, so we still have the search bar. So if you're not finding what you're looking for, you can search again and see if you find what you're looking for by searching another time. And then once you've read through all the content on the page and you're still not finding something, we've got another reminder down here that you could submit a ticket, you could call the help desk and visit. And this is a way to make sure that users visiting our site know how to get an answer to their question. So they're not left with questions or left without their answer.
And it actually goes a little deeper than that too, doesn't it, Steve? I mean, we're actually using the search mechanism and kind of feedback loops from what people are searching for to create new content.
That's right, yeah, so on a weekly basis, I'll look at Google Analytics reports and we can see the keywords people are searching for and then where they land once they've searched for that term. And so we can look at that and say, well, is that where we wanted them to land? Does that resulting page have their answer? And if it doesn't, we can tweak the content on the website to make sure that happens. And additionally, to make sure people find their answer, at the bottom of every help article here on the screen, we've got this question, was this helpful? And if someone finds that one of the steps on the help article weren't correct or didn't help them, they can say no, and they can enter what was wrong. Like, this step didn't work for me. And we've gotten a lot of that feedback, and it's helped us prioritize the changes we make, and it helps us optimize our content and make sure everything is accurate. Because I think it's really important to capture the issues people have while they're on the page, because they might see you in the hallway and say, hey, I couldn't find my answer to my problem. Well, it's hard to remember what page they were on. Well, in this way, we can capture that.
Sure, and it's kind of easy when everything is brand new because it's all kind of recent in our mind, but over time, we forget what's been updated and what hasn't been updated. And so when you forget and something is out of date, then that yes, no, was this helpful? That information then really becomes valuable for us to know that we need to update something.
That's right. And we've actually reorganized a lot of content. The technology requirements pages, we've reorganized a lot based on that feedback. So that was very helpful.
Maybe I think it'd be interesting to let people know a little bit about kind of what our process was for updating the website.
Definitely. So the very first step we followed, we did was to create a content inventory. And that is basically a spreadsheet that has all of the web pages on your existing website listed out. And then it's up to you how many additional columns you want of data. But the information we put into our content inventory were things like the date the page was created, when it was last updated, how much traffic the page currently gets, and then going forward, whether that page needs to be removed, improved, or consolidated.
Right. So we had hundreds of pages
Yeah.
of what was really kind of bad content. Right.
Yep.
And so what we needed to do was figure out, are we just going to update that content? Are we going to replace it with something new? Or are we just going to get rid of it altogether?
Yeah. Yep. And so that was the basis that we kept going back to that every time we were porting over content or just making decisions. We would look at that spreadsheet. And then we also did weekly or bi-weekly meetings to critique and review things and assign tasks and to make sure we were on the same page. What else? Towards the end of the process, we reviewed a lot of the help articles as we were reporting them over, making sure that they were formatted correctly and that they were accurate. And that's a process we're still going through, is making sure all of our existing content is accurate.
Jeremy, maybe I can go to you for just a minute. Kind of give us a sense for how we're doing in terms of updating the content and putting new content in. Are we still at a rate of, I don't know, maybe 2-3 pages a week? Is it growing? Is it slacking off? Or is that about where we're at?
Yeah, I'd say that's about where we're at. Getting the content together, we want to make sure it's up to date, and we want to make sure we're getting it from the right source. So we've been kind of trying to find a way to contact the right people.
So you and Steve seem like you're acting as kind of the editors for the content, but we really try and define or identify who a particular content expert is. So maybe it's someone that's on the help desk team or the support services team to talk about printing. And they're the ones that actually craft a lot of the initial information, and then it goes to you guys for formatting and kind of wordsmithing before it goes to the live site, correct?
Exactly. It's kind of like what Greg was talking about earlier. They have the same kind of system going on where you need to get content from the right people, and then you need to have the content, in a good form. So it works like on mobile devices and on laptops and all the different ways that people are accessing websites nowadays. So it's kind of similar to what Greg was saying earlier. We're trying to keep the site fresh, updated, and relevant.
Excellent. Well, I would really encourage people to take a look at the new ITS website. It's really targeted for more self-service type tools. That's really the search mechanism that we're using there, where you can search for whatever the topic or the keyword is that you're looking for more information on. And then if you don't find it, that kind of is another clue to us that, hey, we've got some information that needs to be updated or put together. So take a look at it. I think these guys have done a really nice job with it. I think it's a great foundation for us to build on. So we'll see that continue to move forward. So let's go quick to another break, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of wrap it up with part 3 of our phishing series and talk to Tim a little bit on what happens if you do fall for a phishing attempt.
All right, Corey here from the Help Desk. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Google Drive and a couple ways you can use it. One way that a lot of people, I'm sure, use Google Drive is the web app on Google Drive, and which you can basically go to your ATSU Gmail account online in a browser window and click the little grid at the top here and click on Google Drive, and it takes you to your Google Drive. going to show that here. And so basically this is, your online storage in Google Drive. But you can also install Google Drive locally on your personal computer or computers. You can have it on more than one, and that's really where a real powerful aspect of Google Drive. So in effect, what Google Drive will do is if you install it locally, there's a if you're in your Google Drive web and you click the little gear icon up here, there's a button that says Download Drive. That's underneath this little gear button. You click that, it'll take you to a web page, and it's a download link for Drive for either your Mac or PC, and then it also gives you links for your Android devices and your iPhone and iPad. So you click and install it I'm on a Mac here, so I would click the Mac option, and it'll actually, I think, automatically try to download it here, even though I've already got it installed. So you would go ahead and do all that. I have it installed currently. And so when you have it installed on a Mac, you'll have it up here in your toolbar at the top of the screen. On a PC down near the clock, you'll have a little Google Drive icon there, and you'll know it's installed locally. And what it does is it basically on your computer, I'll just go to my computer here, and it puts a folder on your computer. So here is a folder locally on my computer. So basically what this amounts to is it makes a mere copy of what I have on my web version of Google Drive on my local computer. Now, you don't have to have it sync everything if you don't want to. You can keep certain folders, and you can go in and tell it which folders you would like to sync. There's actually some options in here. If you click, I think it's preferences here. So you can see only sync some folders. If you check this, then it'll pull up your Google Drive online, and you could pick, hey, I maybe just want a few of these folders syncing to my local computer, but so that it won't take up a lot of hard drive space on your computer, since we have unlimited Google Drive storage with ATSU. So it's really nice to install the local app, because what that gives you the ability to do then is, of course, Google Drive Online, you can use Google Docs, you can use the Google Word processor, the Google Spreadsheet, but if you don't like those or more familiar with Microsoft Office products, you can use Google Drive to sync and edit your Microsoft Office files. So I'm going to open up Microsoft Word on this computer, and there's Microsoft Word. And let's say I want to create a document, and I'm just going to call this a test document. All right. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to go to File and Save it as. And then, so this is the important part. You want to save it as, or save it, direct it where it wants to save it, because normally it'll go to your Documents folder, but you want to tell it to go to Google Drive, your local Google Drive folder. And then if you want to make subfolders underneath it, you can, but for now I'm just going to put it in the main Google Drive folder. I'm just going to hit Save. And now then, if I go back over here to my Google Drive folder, I now have this test document in here. And what it'll do now is it'll automatically synchronize with my cloud. So if I go up here to my Google Drive cloud, here in a second, kind of give it a refresh here, it should show up here in my Google Drive Online. And yep, there it is, test document right here. Just created right here in time. So now that is synced with my cloud Google Drive. So if I have, this is on my home computer right now, but if I have my work computer and my Google Drive account synced, then all of a sudden that document file is on my work computer. So you could work at home in Word, save the Word document on your local computer at home, and then it would synchronize with your Google Drive cloud here online. And then if you have the Google Drive app installed on your work computer at work, it will download that file onto your work computer. And it keeps it in synchronization. So then you can basically go to work, open this document file, make edits to it. Say I can pull it back up again here. I'll make a change. We'll make this larger. All right. And I'll make it bold and underlined. And then I'm going to go up here to File, and then this one I don't need to save it as again because I know it's in that same folder. I'm just going to hit Save. So it's going to update it here on my local Google Drive folder on my local computer at home. And then it'll also simultaneously synchronize that document online here, and it'll refresh in a minute. See, this showed 723. It should show it. Let me give it a little refresh here. It'll show it's been updated. Yep, 7/24. And actually, we can preview that right here. And you can see it'll actually show you the bold and the underline we did to the document. So it's a great way. A lot of people I know like to use Microsoft Office, so this is a great way you can use Google Drive with your Microsoft Office product. So have fun and enjoy Google Drive. See you later.
All right, great. Thanks, Corey, for putting that together, the little tips and tricks on Google Drive. We're going to try and do more of those for next season. I think it's a helpful way for us to kind of get information out to people, and then we can reuse those. You can always go back and look at them again, but they're a good tool for us to have. Which another good tool, or bad tool, I guess, that we have to deal with is phishing. And so if you've paid attention to the last couple of episodes that we've had on the Lunch and Learn, we had our security person, Dustin Usher, talking about phishing. And so the first week he kind of described what phishing is and how it's an attempt to get at information that someone shouldn't get into. Personal information, password, account type information. And then we went into how you might protect yourself from phishing. But today what we want to do is talk a little bit about, hey, I fell for one of those phishing attacks. What do I do? So with us to kind of give us a little hint is Tim Johnson, our Manager of Network Technologies.
So first of all, I apologize. I know Dustin's better looking, but you'll have to satisfy for me today. So really, our response doesn't begin until somebody lets us know, because unless it appears in my own email box, we are only going to be aware that there's a message when somebody gives us a call or sends a ticket to the help desk, or just, hey, sends us an email. So at that point, our investigation begins as to the scope of the message. How many people received it? And that determines how we will tailor our response. So if it's a widespread distribution, then we will shift more into notification and prevention mode at that point rather than investigation. So in that situation, we'll be in touch with the customer service group, with Gene, to craft an email and response, get that information out, and do a preliminary investigation to determine what kind of phish it is and what action our users need to take.
How malicious it might have been.
Exactly. So what I want to talk about is our investigation mode at that point, because it's really the same no matter what the response is, whether it's 1, whether it's 100.
So before we even get to our investigation, if someone accidentally clicks on something or is even thinking or just not paying attention and they click on a phish, don't just blow it off. Let us know. And
Definitely.
by us, what we mean is send a message to the help desk.
Right.
And say, hey, I clicked on this, sorry, not sure if anyone else has gotten this. But even if we're getting 10, 15 of those, until you see a message from the support team that says, hey, we're aware of it, we've got it under control, or we're working on it, please send us those messages.
Definitely. We need to know everybody and the action they've taken, because even if we miss one, the damage could be pretty significant. So in that investigation phase, we look at the message and we look for two things. We look, number one, the source of the message. Where did it come from? And it may not always be the from address, because hackers, when they put those messages together, will sometimes spoof that address, so somebody unsuspecting is going to get a bunch of hate mail. Why are you sending me this?
Right.
So we look at the true source of that message. And then the second thing we look at is the payload. What's contained in that message. So once we identify the source of where it came from, we'll typically contact that sender, because chances are they've been compromised, and they need to be aware that they're sending out information.
If it's from someone that's related to ATSU.
Even if it's not related to ATSU,
Okay.
we will still contact those individuals, because it's as a courtesy, and it's also it's what I would want somebody to let us know if we happen to be compromised.
Sure.
So, and chances are by the time we make that notification, they've already been told by probably several.
Right, and you have a whole security network that kind of looks at this stuff. So when you say you're letting them know, you're really letting that security network know.
Yep. And in some cases, we'll even contact the individual university or institution that says, you got this account that's been compromised.
Right.
So then when we look at what is actually contained in the message, and there's two things there. There's either going to be a link to a phishing site to actually gather credentials, and that's what they're looking for. Is they're looking for your credentials so that you can be the next victim, and they can use you either in a future attack or try to see what kind of information they can get from us. The more dangerous payload is usually one to a site where they actually download something to your computer to take control of it and turn your computer as part of and Dustin mentioned about botnets.
And would someone ever even know that that's happened?
Rarely you will know it's because it's happening in the background. In some cases, it might be something as innocent as an Excel document that contains macros in it. And so you open that document and you click on the message, and it's in the background of your computer. It's actually doing all the damage. So yeah, you may not necessarily be aware what's going on. The couple of telltale signs is your performance will get slow, or hopefully in most cases your antivirus software will kick off.
Right.
But in the case of what they call zero-day exploits, you may not know in those situations. The other thing we do is if we find out what the site is that is actually distributing that information, we will go to that source and we will contact them to take that site down. We had one recently that used a service called Weebly.com, which is kind of a website hosting service that's used by many people.
Sure.
Well, this particular malware person decided to build his own site on there. So within an hour, they had taken that down. And it was a really somewhat crude attempt to make it look like our ATSU portal. Hopefully people, I definitely could tell right away, and hopefully our users could too, and the ones that reported it did, because they said, what happened to the portal?
Yeah.
And there you go, it was. So, but in a lot of cases, it's usually sites that have been compromised themselves, and now they're hosting phishing pages unbeknownst to them. And so they're usually grateful to be notified that, oh, I've got that on my side, I need to get rid of that.
Right. And you worry, as the attempts get more sophisticated, that they do look more and more real.
Exactly.
And it's difficult to tell the difference.
Right. And these trends are going to continue to grow, because as computers and networks become more secure, it becomes more difficult for the hackers to break in directly to those systems. So it's a lot easier to go after the individual to try to get their information and gain access into those systems. So this will be a trend that you will see grow year over year. So the key thing is just to be aware. If you happen to answer a phish for your own personal account or something on your own private account, even in those situations, reset your passwords. And as Dustin's probably mentioned in previous sessions, try to have different passwords for all the different systems you use. Don't try to use the same password. I know it's difficult to try to remember all those different passwords. There's tools out there that you can use for password storage. The other thing is you will see a lot more of what's called two-step authentication coming forward. So passwords may not be the only factor that you need to get in, and so that will allow us to not rely upon that technology. So you might have your smartphones, and there's some websites out there. Google, for one, has a two-step authentication built into it already, so you get sent a code to your phone after you've put in your password so that they know it's you.
Right.
So there's other technologies that'll come along to help make that easier.
So to kind of sum it up, one, let the help desk know
Yep.
if you've been compromised or fear that you might have been compromised. Two, keep your passwords up to date, change them, use different passwords for different sites. And then three, think about using two-factor authentication. And we're going to do some things within IT. We're talking about a couple of incentives. One is trying to recognize those people who do send us information on phishing attempts, maybe do a quarterly drawing or something for a Starbucks card or something, so that we really encourage people to let us know about phishing attempts. We really do want that information. Don't feel like you're bothering us or that we already know. We'll let you know when we get to that point. And then also, as an incentive for using two-factor authentication, maybe there are some things that make sense there where you wouldn't have to change your password as frequently if you were using two-factor authentication. So we're working on some of those things. All right, great. Excellent. Well, that kind of wraps up our Lunch and Learn for this season. We will be back in September. And we've got lots of good things kind of in the plans for September. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be working even closer with HR, communications, and marketing. Hopefully we'll see some new hosts involved. I want to thank everyone for being with us today. Greg and Jeremy out on Zoom, Steve and Tim here in the studio. And I really need to recognize all the people, all the people who work behind the scenes all season. We've got Barb and Corey who are here in the background almost every session that we do. We've got Danny who put together the little compilation of all of the clips at the beginning of different parts of the season. There's a lot of people who kind of come into, who work on this stuff. It's not just us who are on camera. So that's great. So we appreciate that. And again, part of the purpose of this is to set off those light bulbs in people's minds. So we're doing this to build our skill set, and then hopefully we can help you to put some of your content as faculty and staff and whatnot into these types of tools. So with that, we'll let everyone get to event season with graduations and white coat ceremonies and whatnot over the summer, and we'll see you back in September. Thanks much.